Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Zara Putri Haliman. Today I'm going to present my intermediate grammar project. The focus of this presentation is on compound complex sentences, parallel construction, and some related grammatical structures used in academic writing. First, let's define what a compound complex sentence. It's a sentence that contains at least two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. The structure usually looks like this: independent clause plus coordinating conjunction plus independent clause plus dependent clause. The next part is for original compound complex sentence. The first one is showing cause and effect. Because the experiment yielded unexpectedly high error rates, the research team paused data collection and they recalibrate their measuring instrument. Here, because is the dependent clause that explains the cause, while the rest are independent clauses. The second one is showing contrast. Although the theoretical model predicted linear growth, the empirical data diverged sharply and the authors revised their hypothesis accordingly. Although the theoretical model predicted linear growth is dependent clause because the subordinating is the although, the empirical data differ sharply is independent clause, and then the author revised their hypothesis accordingly is independent clause. So there is two independent clause and one dependent clause. The next one is when the participants complete the first task, the software logs their responses automatically and the investigators begin debriefing them. When the participants completed the first task is dependent clause. The subordinating is when the software logs their responses automatically is independent clause. The investigators begin debriefing them is independent clause. So there is two independent clause plus one independent clause. Next one is showing condition. If the sample size remains below the threshold, we will extend the recruitment path and we will reassess our power calculations. If the sample size remains below the threshold is dependent clause and the subordinating is if. We will extend the recruitment phase is independent clause. We will reassess our power calculations is independent clause. So there is two independent clauses and one dependent clauses. The last part of this topic is why compound complex sentences are often used in academic writing. So compound complex sentences are often used in academic writing because they help express logical relationships like cause, contrast, time, or conditions clearly and cohesively. We move to parallel construction or parallelism. Parallelism means using the same grammatical form for words, phrases, or clauses that have the same importance. Slide is a parallelism in a list or series. The research objectives are to identify trends, to analyze causes, and to propose solutions. The explanation why is this correct is each item in the series follows the same grammatical pattern: an infinitive phrase beginning with to identify, to analyze, to propose. The incorrect is the research objectives are to identify trends, analyzing causes, and solutions will be processed, not parallel, different grammatical forms. B. Parallelism in paired ideas, using both and, either or. The correct is the study included both quantitative survey and qualitative interviews. The explanation is the elements connected by both and are known classes, quantitative surveys or qualitative interviews. Another example of either or is participants could complete the questionnaire either online or in person. The explanation is the paired elements are prepositionally processed with identical structures online or in person. C. Parallelism in comparisons, using then or as blah 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 x. The correct one is writing academic papers is more challenging than conducting experiments. The explanation is both compare elements used in phrases writing academic papers, or conducting experiments. Another example as blah 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 as the results were as reliable as they were followed. The explanation is each clause after S uses the same structure, they were plus adjective. D. Parallelism with correlative conjunctions. Not only blah 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 but also. The correct one is the new curriculum not only enhanced the students' critical thinking but also improved their communication skills. The explanation is the phrases joined by the not only blah 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 but also are verb phrases of the same pattern, enhance or improves. The incorrect one is the new curriculum not only enhances students' critical thinking but also their communication skills. Not parallel, verb phrases on one side, noun phrases on the other. The last slide is why incorrect parallelism causes confusions. Because when sentences are parallel, our brain processes the information faster. If the pattern breaks, readers might lose focus or misunderstand the meaning. The part 2 of this project is study case assignment. Now, let's look at the case study. The sentence is because the teacher was late, the students wait and they start the class by themselves. The sentence includes one dependent clause, because the teacher was late, and two independent clause, the students wait and they start the class by themselves. Therefore, it qualifies as a compound complex sentence. Does it qualify as a compound complex? Yes, it does, by structural grammatical justification. Finite verbs was late, waited, started. Three finite verbs, at least three clauses. The students wait and they start the class by themselves can stand alone as sentence or independent because the teacher was late, cannot stand alone, or dependent, or adverbial clause. Syntactic tree or clause structure. The first one is subordinate clause, is because the teacher was late, main clause or compound. Independent clause 1 is the student wait. The independent clause 2 is they start the class by themselves. Notes: each independent clause contains a subject, the student or they, and the predicate wait or started. Case 2 is dangling constructions. Let's discuss dangling modifiers. A dangling modifier happens when a participle phrase doesn't clearly revert to the noun that follows it. For example, walking through the park, the flowers look beautiful. This is incorrect because it sounds like the flowers are walking. The correct version is walking through the park, I saw the flowers looking beautiful. The logical noun and correction. Logical subject is the person who walks, I slash we slash someone. The incorrect is walking through the park, the flowers look beautiful. The correct one is walking through the park, I saw the flowers looking beautiful. I will show you guys before and after comparison. Before, walking through the park, the flowers look beautiful. Implies flowers walk. After, walking through the park, I saw the flowers looking beautiful. Correctly assigns the body verb to the person walking. The last case is compound sentences. Let's differentiate compound and complex sentences. A compound sentence joins two independent clauses with a coordinating conjunctions. For example, the manager approved the proposal, but the director rejected. A complex sentence, on the other hand, combines a main clause and a subordinate clause. For instance, the manager approved the proposal because the director was busy. So I will show you guys the difference between compound and complex sentences. The structure of compound sentence is two or more independent clauses, and the structure of complex sentences is one independent clauses plus one or more dependent clauses. The connector type of compound sentences is coordinating conjunctions for, and, nor, but, or, yet so, or called by fanwords. And the connector type of complex sentence is subordinating conjunction because, although, since, if, when, etc. Clause independence is clauses can stand alone, But complex sentences, dependent clauses, cannot stand alone. The example, I studied hard and I passed the exam. And the example of complex sentence is I passed the exam because I studied hard. And I will show you guys the example of compound sentences using and. The teacher explained the lesson and the students took notes. Using that, I want to travel abroad but my passport had expired. Using so, it was raining heavily so we stayed indoors. Using yet, he worked all night yet he didn't finish the report. The next slide is clause-by-clause breakdown and synthetic evidence. Sentence A. The manager approved the proposal, but the director rejected. The structure line is the clause 1 is the manager approved the proposal, plus coordinating conjunction is but, plus clause 2 is the director rejected it. The sentence B. The manager approved the proposal because the director was busy. Structure line is main clause, the manager approved the proposal, plus subordinate clause, because the director was busy. To conclude, mastering structures like compound complex sentences and parallelism help us write clearly and more cohesive academic texts. Thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.